Fresh diplomatic efforts between the United States and Iran have wrapped up in Qatar, with mediators reporting positive progress despite the absence of direct negotiations between the two sides. The talks come after days of military tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and as both countries try to preserve a fragile ceasefire while working toward a broader peace agreement. Here's the latest. Qatar and Pakistan have concluded separate meetings with American and Iranian officials in Doha, with Pakistan's Foreign Office saying the discussions made positive progress on issues related to the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding and the Lake Lucerne Summit. The Foreign Office said both sides had agreed to continue negotiations, with the next round of talks expected after the funeral ceremonies of former Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. As in previous rounds, the meetings were indirect, with Qatari and Pakistani mediators shuttling between the two delegations. The American delegation included Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Iran was represented by Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi, while Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf did not attend. According to Iranian officials, the discussions focused primarily on implementing the existing ceasefire agreement rather than negotiating a final peace settlement. Two technical meetings were held. One addressed what Iran described as American violations of the Memorandum of Understanding, with both sides agreeing to establish a communication channel to resolve future disputes. The second focused on the release of approximately $6 billion in frozen Iranian funds. Although President Donald Trump said negotiations over Iran's nuclear program were moving along well, officials familiar with the talks say the issue was not discussed during this latest round.
As far as things are going, the denuclearization of Iran is moving along well. They've had very good meetings, and we'll see. We hit them very hard for 3 nights, as you know, but we're getting along very well. So I call it the denuclearization, and it's all taking place. It's all going well.
Instead, the meetings focused on technical matters already covered under the interim agreement. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed that negotiations over Iran's nuclear program would begin at a later stage, calling it the next major issue on the agenda. One of the central issues remains the future of the Strait of Hormuz. The June ceasefire agreement paved the way for shipping to resume through the strategic waterway, which normally carries around 1/5 of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas trade. However, Iran continues to insist it has the sovereign right, alongside Oman, to regulate traffic through the strait and plans to introduce shipping tolls once the current toll-free period expires in mid-August. The United States has rejected those plans, insisting Hormuz must remain an unrestricted international shipping route. Iranian state media also reported that a foreign container ship ran aground outside the navigation corridor designated by Iranian authorities, highlighting the continuing uncertainty over maritime traffic. President Trump struck an optimistic tone after the talks, saying Iran had come a long way and expressing confidence that diplomacy would continue.
Well, I think they've come a long way. We hit them very hard last week. I think they're fine.
Oil prices fell for a third straight session, as traders welcomed signs of progress in indirect U.S.-Iran talks, even though a broader peace agreement remains elusive. Brent crude slipped around 1.1% to $70.80 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate fell 1.2% to $67.74. Both benchmarks had already dropped more than 1% in the previous session, touching their lowest levels in 4 months. The decline came after Qatar announced positive progress in indirect negotiations focused on implementing the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, particularly on issues surrounding the Strait of Hormuz, the strategic waterway that handled about 20% of global oil supplies before the war. Despite the market optimism, officials acknowledged there has been no major breakthrough toward a permanent peace agreement, with key disputes over Iran's nuclear program, regional security, and the future management of the Strait of Hormuz still unresolved. While the latest round of indirect talks produced no major breakthrough, both sides have agreed to keep negotiations alive. For now, discussions remain focused on implementing the existing ceasefire, resolving disputes over frozen Iranian assets, and restoring stability in the Strait of Hormuz. The more difficult negotiations, including Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, and a permanent peace agreement, are expected to begin after the next round of talks, scheduled following the funeral of Iran's former supreme leader.